So this is Kovalam in India, located in Kerala, India's southernmost province. Now at first glance, it looks like your typical hectic Indian beach town. But what a lot of people don't know is that this was once the site of an artificial reef project that set to transform the place into an international surfing hub. So this is the story of how that almost happened. So this project wasn't primarily focused on creating a world-class wave. In fact, the primary goal for this project was to protect another one of Kerala's beaches from the state's erosion problems. You know, erosion had been an issue all across Kerala for years. Now, typically the government would install series of groins around the Kerala coast to tackle this, but with debate over how effective these groins actually were, this time the government wanted to try something different. So as was the theme around the world at this point in time, there were one or two different companies that were starting to look at creating artificial reefs. So the Indian government sought to create something that would not only protect its coastline, but actually create an artificial wave in a place that already had a little bit of a surf scene, but creating a wave that was substantially better than anything they had previously. So pre-Reef, Kovalam was just an average sort of closeout beach break. So the government saw this as an opportunity to not only protect the beach at Kovalam, but inject the area with cash from foreign surf tourists coming to surf the new and improved wave. So in December 2009, construction got underway, and ASR, the company responsible for designing and building the reef, began placing huge 30-meter long geotextile bags of sand just off Kovalam beach. It cost over $1 million US, and by February 2010, the reef was complete. So in the weeks post-installation, the reef was a success. You know, it transformed what was previously a really shitty closeout beach break into a very fun, very punchy left-hand wall, you know. I don't have the rights to many of the photos, but if you go to this website, there's a few images of it looking pretty fun. So it definitely created a proper wave, and reading lots of local reports from that time, you can see that it did work, and for a few weeks it produced a new wave, and it looked to be the first successful artificial surfing reef in the world. If any of you guys were there during that time, or you were lucky enough to surf it, please let me know what it was like in the comments. I'd love to hear a first-hand account. Like, was it actually any good? How long did it break for? What was the wave actually like? So this was a huge win, not only for ASR, but just for artificial surfing reefs in general. After the failure of the Bournemouth Reef and the El Segundo Reef, this one looked like it was actually going to work. So before we move on, I just want to thank today's sponsor. Now, without sponsors, I can't do trips, I can't spend all of my time creating videos, and I can't tell stories like this. Now, today's sponsor is Incogni. If you're not familiar with Incogni, they are a data removal company that helps keep your data away from hackers, scammers, and data broker companies. Right now, many of our names, addresses, emails, phone numbers are on these huge data broker lists that scammers and companies use to spam you and ultimately get money from you. But legally, you do have the option to be removed from these lists, and Incogni helps you do this. Once you sign up for Incogni, it quietly works in the background for you, removing you from all of these different lists. With tools like custom removals, you can manually submit specific websites or links containing your private information, and the Incogni team will remove them for you. So take your personal data back with Incogni. Use the code HARMON at the link below to get 60% off an annual plan. So for a few weeks, locals and surf tourists began enjoying this new wave, but it didn't last long. This part of India actually gets a lot of swell during monsoon season. If you check the charts, you know, there's like 8 to 10 foot swell quite consistently. Unfortunately, this big swell is produced by monsoon season, so it comes with a lot of onshores and a lot of rain. So although there's a lot of swell, it doesn't necessarily mean good waves. So within just a few weeks of the reef being finished, parts of the big geotextile bags began washing up on the beach at Kovalam, and the bags began to sink into the sand. By the time the next monsoon season hit, it tore apart the reef completely, more ripped up pieces of bag washed up on the shore, and the reef fell further underneath the sand. So some say it did help the erosion issue temporarily, and it kept the beach at the same width, but eventually as the reef sank further and further under the seabed and it tore apart more, waves began to just bypass the reef altogether. It stopped breaking, and Coverland returned to its previous state as a mushy shore break closeout. A typical closeout beach break with a frustrating erosion issue. Now, people did still surf there, and it is home to surf schools and local surfers, but all this hype that it was going to create this amazing new wave and become a spot, you know, just faded away really quickly, and it was another disappointing artificial reef project. It's really interesting to ponder that if it did work, would that now be a surfing hub? Would people be flocking there to surf this fun little left? And you know, what effect would that have had on the place? But you still can surf there, it's just not that great. I actually went there earlier this year and I got a few little waves there. The swell was pretty minimal when I was there, so it wasn't that good. Also guys, I'm going to be making a full video on the trip that I did to India, so stay tuned for that. All I'll say is it was a pretty interesting trip. So yeah, I look forward to sharing that with you in the near future. But my point is, it didn't have this transforming effect that everyone thought it would. So on the beach, loads of these torn up bags kept washing up, and fishermen ended up getting these bits of sandbags stuck in their nets, and it just became a bit of a shit show. So what followed in the aftermath was a cluster disaster of money, legal and tax issues, which is all a little bit confusing and a bit boring. But the main controversy around it was that the money used to build the reef was actually part of the 2004 tsunami relief fund. So once it failed, it came under a lot of public scrutiny for just being such a waste of resources that could have been better spent in different areas. An audit later revealed that poor contract management by local officials led to breaches of tax laws, massive penalties, and lots of rupees in unnecessary expenditure. Additionally, no environmental impact assessment was ever properly conducted before construction went ahead. The whole thing was just botched. By 2012, ASR went into liquidation and was dissolved after several lawsuits worth millions came their way. And ASR's chief directors vanished off the face of the earth. So because ASR Limited was a foreign entity with no local office in India, Indian tax laws meant that the recipient, so in this case the HED, was the party responsible for paying taxes. So it just got into this huge mess, and eventually it was just written off as an expensive failure. And another example of an artificial reef that didn't work. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Stay tuned for more content. Also guys, I've just set up an email list, so if you join the email list, you'll get 10% off consulting calls, and I promise not to spam you. I'll just be sending you the occasional email letting you know of future discounts on calls, when new videos are coming out, and just occasionally send you some helpful surf trip info. I've also got a couple of really exciting projects that I can't wait to share with you later in the year, so see the description for where you can join that list.